Bom dia, alegria. Munson here from expatsportugal.com with the Good Morning Portugal live stream and podcast, of course. Never forget the podcast. How are you doing this morning? Tudo bem? Como estás? Let's see who's here this morning before we take a look at the weather and the news. News is closing in on us, but we don't forget, we're here to light up Christmas. We've moved from Movember, of course, and this is going, it's the 1st of December. We're into the light up Christmas season, having done a little bit to help stimulate conversation and have men open up as Movember is intended. And thanks to Francis for that, for stimulating that idea. And he's here this morning. Bom dia, alegria. He says, a todos FC Porto all the way. He's made his mind up. He's made his mind up already about that. Prof. Eusebio is here as well. Bom dia, mantenha calma e seja Benfiquista. So he's a Benfica supporter there as well. Have you chosen? That's what it's about today. The Eagles you see outside homes sometimes usually mean that the residents are Benfica supporters, right? Or that they've paid off the mortgage. That was the other description or explanation given for the large concrete or marble creatures at the end of the driveway there. You may know better than me on that. Often the case. Do let me know in the chat. But yeah, Eagles mean Benfica there, all the way for Prof. Eusebio. James Holly, have you chosen yet which football team you're going to put your heart and soul behind? Or at least look like it when in Portuguese company, because that's the thing to do. You need to choose a football team when you come to Portugal. It's a very important part of the culture. And it's Ask Anything About Portugal Wednesday, the first one of the month, where, of course, Heronius Maximus, Michael Heron joins us, who's always great value. He's rearing to go, and I think he may even join us before 9 o'clock to chat about the news and probably not the weather, but mainly the news of what's going on and his view of from the capital, because that's where he lives and works, very close to Lisbon and in Lisbon. So he'll help us. He will coach you on which football team you might like to consider. We can do it geographically, or you can play safe in a kind of Man United fan sort of way and just choose a successful club that you know is going to be causing you some comfort on the one hand, because your team might be champions. But then it might be a Marmite situation where, like Sporting or Benfica. It could go like that. And we'll find out more from Michael. I'm getting to the edge of my knowledge with these things. So thank God he's here later on. Bom dia, Gampers. Feliz carta a todos. Estudei 45 minutos ontem. Very good. Ooh, and what's that? A whole 45 minutes yesterday. Did anyone buy Mia's big package yesterday? E 10 minutos até agora hoje. We can do it. Well done, James. In case you're wondering what he's talking about, we encourage everybody to do 15 minutes Portuguese every day. Little bit, little and often. Slow and steady wins the race, right? And we've got This Day in Portuguese History coming up in just a moment, thanks to the prof as well. Hola, bom dia, todos de oficina. Can't listen live today. We'll catch the replay. In the office, but good enough to tell us that's what's going on. Good on you, Matty, for keeping us informed. And anyone else who, if you watch this and you never comment and you see these names in the community here, feel free, step into the community spotlight and tell us your name and where you are, and join us here on the screen. A lot of regulars and locals here that you'll be familiar with, like Deagle as well. But if you don't usually speak out, why not make today the day when you introduce yourself to us? And I also see, don't always respond on YouTube, but I always see the comments, so feel free to say something on the YouTube comments if you are watching the replay later on as well. Bom dia, Carl. Light up Christmas! Decembro primero. 1st of December today, of course, as already stated. But we can't state enough this idea of lighting up Christmas as the forces, as not the forces of darkness. I make it sound like a conspiracy. I don't know. Which some, that's certainly a conversational thread more and more so. And actually, on this subject of conspiracy theories, they used to be called opinions, didn't they? A long time ago, and it's within this whole realm, isn't it, of everything becoming politicized. Although, and we did touch on this earlier on this week. Although we're very happy to talk about politics here, I think it's really important that we don't politicize politics. Yes. Politicization and making others wrong because they don't agree with you or see the world in the same way. Not here. Bom dia, alegria. From Thunder as well. Light up Christmas. Yes, that is the spirit. Please, if you see my lights going dim, you're very welcome to tell me at any moment, because that could happen when I tell you the news in just a moment. Did anyone else sign up with me yesterday? I'm excited to get started on the course. Fantastic, Thunder. Well done, mate. Approximately 25 years ago, a policeman asked my sons who they supported. They said, our daddy supports Tranmere, bringing shame to the family here in... What? But a policeman said he was sporting, so we started being Lions. Oh, have I got that wrong then? No, I haven't. Eagles and Lions, of course. Yes, very good. Few. Today in Portuguese history too, we will come back to. And does Portugal have a banana slug team? Yes, the idea of slug racing, I'm not sure we're going to get away with that, and nor should we. So stop it, James. And St. Catherine is here this morning. Have you had a cold shower and given yourself some, what is it you do with the old purple plastic paddy whack? Give yourself a few slaps with that. No, really, she does. I'm not, I'm not speaking out of turn there. 35 minutes today. So well done. 35 minutes for the Francis there. And morning all from Linda. Well done, Elra, for being here this morning. Chilly where you are, I wonder. Bon dia in Caldash for the week, visiting this beautiful area. Hey, Mac 007, you even bought a house. Well, some people pop down the shops for a, pint of milk or a newspaper or some cigarettes. You went to Caldash and bought a house. Very good. Oh, Jay's here. Looking forward to your company, Jay, on Thursday, tomorrow. Our Ask Our Expats session, which we usually do on the first Thursday of the month, we'll be hosting a few new arrivals. Okay, I think people love to hear from the new arrivals, so no pressure, Jay and Diane, or Lonnie, who will be here as well, and the legend who is Earl. Earl is joining us. He's been trying to come to Portugal for months now and had us a few knockbacks, but made it, and he is here well and enjoying himself in Portugal. We'll hear from Earl as well tomorrow night. So the Ask Our Expats team hosting the newly arrived, so you can find out about them and quiz them. Jay among them, headed to San Martin Porto today. Yes, okay, well, get in touch with me. Do drop me a message, Jay. I'll put the WhatsApp number up in just a moment, or drop me an email. Then on to Coimbra for a few days. We'll visit Caldash de Rainha as well. Be careful. Looks like you end up buying a house if you go to Caldash. Bon dia alegria from Mark as well. Michael, think the Canaries should have had a better result last night. Oh, I see. Some Norfolk brethren there. Going to zone out a bit for my kids' live stream prize giving. Be back soon. That's fair enough. You've got good, right priorities there, Francis. And yeah, congratulations to your, I think you're two lads, haven't you, there? Sounds like they've done well for themselves in recent times. So well done. That whole household with those excellent students there in South Africa. Okay, let's have a look at the weather then, shall we? Bring it onto the screen now. I've got the window open. It was only when I went out this morning to walk the dogs that I realized how stuffy the house is at the moment, and I'm not having it. So I'm broadcasting today with some blessed fresh air coming in through the window. And let's not forget how important fresh air is, right? Because it's easy at this time of year, is it not, to think, oh, it's getting cold, let's shut all the windows, draw the curtains, put layers on. And you can compromise yourself and your wellness, I think, by just staying too warm and toasty and not getting fresh air. And I tell you, when that fresh air hit my face this morning, as I stepped out of the door with a very excited Jimmy Choo and Pig. Aren't dogs sweet? A little bit silly, really, because they just get so excited about the simplest things. But maybe that's a lesson to us, right? But every day, their routine of going out, they are so excited by it. I'm thinking, calm down. We're only going out for a walk. But I got with them. I was nearly jumping around and skipping like a spring lamb myself when that fresh air hit my face this morning. It was beautiful. So the window is open in the studio. I think Mrs. M had to take the... oh, no, she didn't. The thermometer was bleeping while she was trying to talk to the Far East this morning. It's quite an annoying way, but I think she's left the battery in there. 6 degrees outside here on the Silver Coast and 18 in the studio. But I think that'll plummet because I've got the window open. And I'm loving the fresh air today. Let's have a look at the weather around the country. And actually, we can give you a fantastic shot of the weather in Lisbon, courtesy of Lee this morning. Did I say curtsy? Lee, nice doing a head gardener McGrady doing a nice curtsy before he enters the garden. Look at that. Handbrake on, 10 minutes past 8, 5 degrees. 5 degrees there in the old wagon, I think. That's done some miles, isn't it? 5 degrees, though, in the capital this morning. So getting chillier around the place as we light up Christmas, but that makes the lights twinkle, doesn't it? Cold weather. Frozen air makes your lights twinkle. Make of that what you will. So let's have a look at what's going on. Lisbon, 8 degrees according to our forecaster here, and that was a little while ago when Lee sent in his report. Of course, could have risen 2 or 3 degrees in that time. Of course, that's what happens here in Portugal. You wait till you see what's happening in, where are we? Evora. The temperature differential there is quite extraordinary, or it will be today. 16 the highest. It's similarly in Lisbon. It will start at 8 as it is today, right now, with a few clouds, and will rise to 16. And it will stay 16 or thereabouts. Yeah, 15 tomorrow, 16 on Friday. Nice sunny day on Friday coming up. And Porto, 8 degrees of broken clouds at the moment. 13 the high, rainy in Porto. If you want rain, go there. If you want sun, go south. 17 degrees the high today in Faro. Although starting at 6 degrees centigrade today. A bit rainy tomorrow, but a lovely weekend to look forward to. A nice day Friday and Saturday, and a cloudy day Sunday. But sun returning by the look of it next week. Coimbra in central there. 14 degrees and raining. Overcast clouds. 14 degrees the high, 7 degrees the low, and a nice day promised for Friday as well. Going to the other districts, as we like to do. Evora, 2 degrees, but I bet it's beautiful. I bet it's beautiful in Evora because it's sunny and cold. And the Alentejo Plains will look absolutely beautiful there. But it will rise from 2 to 14 today. It'll be a cloudy day, rainy tomorrow, but a nice day as it looks like across the country on Friday as well. And Leiria, where the Doc lives, Doc and Leona in Leiria, 4 degrees and a few clouds at the moment, rising to 15, but with a bit of rain. Be careful, Doc, if you go out today. I wonder if your chair's all sorted out, but be careful. You might be skidding about the place. Today it's a little bit rainy in Leiria, but a nice day. Maybe do your chores on Friday when the weather will be a lot nicer. So let's do a this day in history, shall we, this morning, because I'm just putting off going to the news, but I feel like I should bring it to you. So first of the profs, today in Portuguese history, 1640, not 1460, got to get that right, 1640, restoration of the independence revolutionary coup d'etat. Restoration of Independence, a revolutionary coup d'etat led by a group called the 40 Conspirators. See, conspiracy theories are nothing new, are they? Overturned the Iberian Union, and it continues. The death of King Sebastian on the 4th of August, 1578, at the Battle of Alcácer Quibir in Morocco, led to a succession crisis and the eventual crowning of Philip II of Spain, becoming Philip I of Portugal. No! Okay, it's probably best not to see this as a great nationalist patriotic victory as it was painted in the 19th century, but rather a battle of branches of various royal families in Europe for power. Oh, I see. Some things never change, right? The nation state as we know it today is a later construct. Okay, so no need for anyone to get excited as I was there. I mean, I'm not even proper Portuguese, but I do get bristle a bit when Spain is mentioned now. Is that right? Is that one of those, you know you're Portuguese when the mention of Spain makes you go, what? What about Spain? We're Portuguese here. So very fresh there in Finland, -5 with what? That's the high of -5 and a low of -13. Oh my goodness, Elra. Stay warm, safe. And it's all very well for me to go on about fresh air. There's plenty of it where you are, by the sound of it. Owen, hola, bon dia. Light up Christmas, pessoas bonitas. Beautiful people, remember to light up Christmas. No, walk first, cold shower, and then take my beater out. Said Catherine. What are you like? Iris is here. How did the move go? Bon dia from a cold Nazare. Please enlighten us in what today's public holiday is about, Carl. Whoops! A public holiday today? Yes, of course. I knew that. Quick, Prof. Eusebio, what's happening today on the? It's just the monthly. It's the monthly public holiday. Michael should know. Michael will know about this because it means he won't be going into Lisbon today. Okay, October 1640 Independence Day. Quicking out Spanish as usual, says Elra. Kicking out Spanish as usual. Okay. Not that size is everything, but Benfica is the Portuguese club with the most members, socios, and the second most in the world. 250,000 nearly. Well, 20,000 short, but what's that among footballing friends? Behind Bayern Munich at 293. How do you measure that? Is that the paid membership? That's pretty awesome, isn't it? Yes, because of course the Portuguese diaspora will be supporting Benfica. It's a way of staying in touch with home, isn't it? To be a member of your football club whilst abroad. Fantastic. Today in Mr. Holly's neighbourhood, I'm still delaying looking at the news, de la Quinta, Coda and Lek e Danash Vistas. The turkey opens its tail in a fan and stands out, highlights, shows it off. James, have you been eating exotic mushrooms again? What is going on there? Do you actually live near a farm, or is that happening entirely in your vivid imagination, sir? We live near the Benfica Stadium. Most people in this area support Benfica. Guess I'll go with the flow, says Thunder. And yes, the Spain thing is a prerequisite of. Let's just call it that, shall we, Prof. Xavier? The Spain thing. I think we'll call it that. Fantastic. Okay. We are low on viewers this morning, folks. This is looking very intimate. I believe it's tomorrow, the holiday. I think it's actually, there is a public holiday today. You might have a second one in Ericeira there. I think it is today. I think Iris is absolutely right, but we'll find out more from Michael or anyone else who can research that for us. But I'm just saying we're very low in our community this morning. Has the algorithm gone against us? Please, everybody, tell a friend. Tell a friend right now to tune in, maybe after 9. We don't want them tuning in just as we tell them the latest news about the state of calamity lasting 4 months in Portugal. But we'll do that anyway. And Michael will be joining us soon. Not Michael Owen, Michael Heron. Getting me footballing names mixed up there. Michael Heron will join us soon to help us choose which football team. I think the holiday is today. Our housekeeper asked for the day off, and our coffee shop is on holiday hours. So there you go. I think it is today. It certainly seems to be in the capital. And it's the preschool. Oh, well done. Yes, I see what you mean now. Not the mushrooms speaking. It's James's book. Enjoying reading La Quinta. Well done. Well done there. Okay, let's take a little bit of a look at that news, shall we? And let's see what's happening. Yeah, I'm going to scan across. I've got a really nice magazine to share with you. A beautiful magazine that is in the Algarve called Tomorrow Magazine. Anybody else know about that? Or is it just me that didn't know about it? Okay, let's go first, shall we, to the resident. Let's do the resident first and have a look at what they're saying. Yeah, the one that struck me is if you're thinking of driving to Spain, which seemed a little bit more relaxed than traveling through the airports. Get tough land border controls in Portugal start from tomorrow, and that'll be today, in fact, because it was reported yesterday by Natasha Don in the Portugal Resident yesterday. In line with new get tough measures coming in from tomorrow to combat the generalized rise in COVID infections in Portugal, land border controls are also being tightened. Let me just have a sip of my tea. Talk among yourselves a minute while I just have to finish my tea. Thank you for letting me do that, because the colder it gets, the less palatable it gets, and that was absolutely delicious. Okay, let's have a look. And it's the little stash of tea bags that I found unpacking. What a delight that is, the simple things in life. So in line with new get tough measures coming in from tomorrow to combat the generalized rise in COVID infections in Portugal, land border controls are also being tightened. From midnight, this was in the early hours of this morning, any citizens from outside the EU or citizens from countries considered to be red or dark red in terms of risk travelling across the border from Spain and without a valid EU COVID digital certificate need to present proof of a negative laboratorial PCR test taken within the previous 72 hours, proof of a negative laboratorial rapid antigen test taken within the previous 48 hours. Okay, not complicated at all. Citizens from EU countries considered to low or moderate in terms of risk will be allowed passage over the borders as long as they have up-to-date COVID digital certificates showing either proof of double vaccines, in some cases triple, proof of recovery, or a negative laboratorial test. Trans-frontier workers. That's just a posh way of saying people who cross the border to work, right? People who regularly work up to 30 kilometers from the border, as well as lorry drivers, emergency and rescue security services, will also have to present their digital COVID certificate every time they cross the border. Border controls, however, will not be constant. The Ministry of Internal Administration has said they will be random. Anyone discovered not to have the necessary sanitary paperwork, oh my word, will be required to take a test for SARS-CoV-2 at a location within 30 kilometers radius of the border. control at their own expense. People thus referred will be expected to await the result before travelling across the border. Anyone not presenting proof of a COVID test or refusing to undertake one is sanctioned with a fine of between €300 and €800, which presumably you can expect to be refunded in the coming months or years when that is deemed unlawful, as it seems to be happening in earlier fines that were given out across Europe, concludes a government dispatch sent out last night. That's exciting, a government dispatch that's sent out at night, isn't it? How do I get those? And somebody is holding up an avocado on my screen in an ice cream cone. Let's see what that's about. 4 challenges in plant-based frozen desserts. Oh, okay. Right. And Christmas festivities in Lagos. Let's hope they go ahead. Fingers crossed for that. Light up Christmas. And what else? Oh, nothing too bad in the advertising. Hampers, the perfect gift. There you go. If you're struggling, you can get yourself a nice hamper there from the Apollonia supermarket. Buy now. You don't even have to go out to do that, to organise that nice Christmas gift for somebody. I like that. A hamper at Christmas, that does seem to be part of things, doesn't it? I wonder if that's transcultural. Okay, so let's go back to their more general news. Corrupt football clubs and officials still scoring own goals. That's very topical, isn't it? And Portugal's latest stance on flights into country makes no sense, complain airlines. They've got used to that, haven't they, in the last little while? Portugal accompanies news of new variant with great concern. A direct quote there. These are stories going back some time now. Portugal suspends flights to and from Mozambique due to new variant. I suspected that, given the alleged origin of the new Omicron variant. And I don't even want to read that out. So, yeah, gloom and doom all the way there. And let's have a look at their brief news, shall we? Government program to lure citizens into interior to drop in 20... Hold on a minute, I'm reading... I mixed. I did a mashup of 2 stories there. Okay. Government program to lure citizens into interior registers no takers. I am so disappointed to hear that. Oh, please, could you everyone just... Oh, that's really bad news. The program Shove Normal, literal translation key in hand, I knew that, announced by Prime Minister Antonio Costa with the objective of taking homeowners from coastal areas to the interior, has raised no interest, reports the Journal de Noticias. I'm going to talk to Michael about this because he's here now. This program was the only measure in the PS government's new generation of housing policies designed for areas of low population density. Despite being announced in 2018, the program only came into effect last year. That's dismal and disappointing from my own personal point of view and my love of Portugal. Let's bring Michael Heron onto the screen and take that off for a moment. Look at him! Oh, yes, sir!
Good morning, everyone. How's it going?
All right, mate. Is that a nice Canaries shirt you've got on there?
Benfica, mate. Benfica. We're here to talk about Portuguese football. Canaries.
I knew that.
We destroyed any credibility you had about football, mate. It's just
it was a joke. It was a joke. It was.
I know.
I don't want people to think that I'm that useless about.
No, I'm joking, mate. I'm joking. And a disclaimer: I'm not today. For once, I'm not here to talk about NEEFs. I'm not here to talk about tax or immigration. So unless you want to talk about football, then this is not the podcast for you. But no, you carry on. You carry on. No,
Okay, now hold on. So I'm going to put this Michael Heron live only about football. Let me just change that then.
Amazing.
I haven't got a team to do this for me, so I'm just doing it myself. So only about football. Very important.
I'm half joking. We have to cater to the masses.
Yes, but I think you make a good point there. Let's have a cheerful discussion about football. It is, of course, historically the great diversion for your working man, isn't it, in times of trouble? So it's very timely.
Well, you know, something interesting I learned yesterday was the origin of the 3:00 kickoff. Apparently, it was back in the day, so the miners, when they finished working, would have time to get to the game after they finished working. So.
Really, that's amazing. Yeah. For us white collar people, we're there, aren't we? From about 10 o'clock, drinking canapes in the box there.
Yeah, exactly.
Your working man, he's got to put in a shift and then be there a little bit later on. Well, that's great. Any other football factoids like that? Gratefully received. That is not the Canaries away strip. That is his Benfica top. Why did you choose Benfica? Remind us.
Yeah, well, it was a negative reason. I mean, it was primarily because they were playing in the final of the Europa League back in 2014, and they were playing against the rival of my Spanish team, Sevilla. So as a Betis fan, we're primarily anti-Sevilla, and then we're Betis. And even though Benfica lost, I was kind of like in love with them in that game just by the way they played, and it was the 8th defeat in a row in European finals that they'd had, which dates back to it's called the Gutmann curse. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but basically there was a Hungarian manager for Benfica in the 60s whose last name was Gutmann. And he's the most successful manager Benfica have had. So both their European Cups in the 60s were under his coaching. He then had a disagreement with the club over money and God knows what else. And when he left, his press conference was legendary. He said, Benfica will never win another European title. And they lost 8 finals in a row since then and haven't won one since. Yeah.
That is a curse and a half, isn't it?
Proper gypsy curse, yeah.
Wow, that's powerful stuff. Okay.
Yeah. But what I will add to that, the main reason I support Benfica is that the stadium was geographically the closest to my apartment when I first moved to Portugal. And we can definitely talk about that later, because I think football in Portugal is an inclusive entertainment. You see women, you see children at all the games. So I'd be very keen to share with some of you who may not be familiar with Portuguese football, or indeed, all the teams, and show you, if you are about to move to Portugal or you've already moved to Portugal, maybe you're looking at supporting your local club and not just going for the big 3, which we'll talk about as well. There are a lot of options for you. Even if you live in Madeira, there's a club in Madeira who play in the Portuguese First Division. Yeah. So we can talk about that later.
Do they all live here then, on the mainland, probably?
Sorry?
How would that work? They do a lot of commuting then?
Well, imagine every away game they have to fly, and the same for the visiting teams. They have to fly to.
That's amazing. That's commitment, isn't it? Okay, I just wanted very quickly I mean, you distracted me massively and in a good way. But this thing here, Michael, let me take the banner off because it's not appropriate for this.
I heard you being a bit grumpy as I got in, but I didn't hear the context of it.
Well, no, I was talking about the border controls. I didn't get round to state of calamity lasting for 4 months, all that sort of stuff. And our antidote for that is to light up Christmas, which I also want to talk to you about. We'll slide that into the conversation like a sliding tackle. But look at this. The government program to lure citizens into the interior had absolutely no one take them up on the offer, which I think is a crying shame. Maybe it's down to the expats to do that and enjoy the interior of Portugal. I think.
Yeah, I think the thing you have to remember about that, mate, is and it makes sense to me. And it would only, I think it has to be an expat-driven thing, and that's because if you've lived your whole life in Lisbon or Porto, for example, and you have your friends there, your community, your football club, moving is a big deal. It's a big deal. So. And in the interior is a long way from the main city. So I can understand that the reason for it, because especially maybe now with telecommuting. But that there you go. That's what Ed La Linda is saying there. Makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? And that's just very much my expat perspective, that it's a crying shame, and it should, of course, be tied up with the golden visa, which it is to some extent, because they are focusing the golden visa on. Sorry, you weren't going to talk about visas, were you? But they are.
No, it's all good, mate. We always end up digressing back to this stuff. Yes. So
the golden visa is attempting to move people away from the hotspots, and this is what people I think need to know about Portugal, is just how incredible it is in the areas that are less well known, and with the convergence, as you say, of being able to work from home with incredible infrastructure. Potentially, mostly, people can have the most incredible quality of life in rural Portugal, and enjoy all that's great about Portugal. In some ways, for the people who like the traditional Portugal ways, they're more evident out of the big cities and in more touristic and expaty areas. So please take a look at that if you're seeing this in the future. This is my Star Wars hologram appearing before you, urging you, as your only hope, Obi-Wan, to consider moving into the centre of Portugal, because not just for your benefit, although you will have many benefits, but for the benefit of central Portugal and these areas that are actually dwindling. You know, the people with the move away from the interior to the coast and to the big cities, something is lost, and something is lost from Portuguese culture, I would say. So let's do our best to stand shoulder to shoulder with those still there, who have a great asset and a great tradition, and help regenerate it. I would love to see that. That's why I was disappointed.
Wow, I love that, mate. Well done. That's fantastic. You should be the spokesman for this.
Well, I will.
You already are, literally.
It's very important to me, that particular thing, and I just don't want to see Portugal miss out on something that could be so great. Right, so let's play that opening theme tune. Let's set the scene, because we'll go away from the news and the weather now. Actually, no, it won't, because when we start on the other side of this, I'm going to ask you what it's like in the capital at the moment, with the state of calamity looming. But let's do this. Let's just set it up nicely into our second hour of nice leisurely chat and choosing a football team, with our traditional opening. Here we go. The central Portugal I was talking about. So we're into the second hour, the convivial and community hour here on the Good Morning Portugal live stream. Of course, on your screen there in his Benfica strip. We don't know whether he's got the shorts on as well. Don't stand up, just in case. Michael Heron is here to help us choose which football team to follow. Very important, as we've said before. But before we go there, and that incredible step you can take to embrace Portuguese culture by picking a football team, what's it like in the capital, Michael, at the moment, with the state of calamity coming in today? Have you noticed anything different?
Not really, no. I mean, I think people. There's more frustration with travel outside, especially to the UK now, where I think a lot of people who plan to visit the UK, all of a sudden you've got to do those days of quarantine, and it's just a bit of a frustration. But I think within Portugal, even though cases are going up and everything, we've had the highest percentage of people vaccinated in the population globally, I think, and the number of deaths and people that have been admitted to hospital is very, very low. So while the spread of the virus has been high, and there's this potential for these variants as well, I haven't seen anything too catastrophic. And obviously, the first 10 days of 2022 are going to be lockdown, forced home working, and no schools. But I think that kind of makes sense, because I think there was kind of if you think about it, it makes sense. It's like, okay, we're not going to cancel Christmas, so you're allowed to mix with your families, but then we're not going to unleash the children who haven't been vaccinated into schools and potentially start spreading it from all those home gatherings over Christmas. So there'll be a 10-day period where if anyone has got it, they'll just have it at home. So I think it's actually a sensible measure. I think it makes a lot of sense. So I'm seeing more people wearing masks outside than before. But in general, I think the mood, we're in that home stretch to Christmas now. So I don't think anyone's going to take that away from us.
All right, that's great. Thank you for your report from the capital. That's really helpful. And is it a holiday today? That was something that was being.
It is. Yeah. It's a national holiday today. Yeah.
And it's for the restauradores. So what does that mean? Is after a busy summer? I mean, I know a lot of the restaurants in my area have a well-earned break as soon as the season is over. Is that another sort of recognition of that? Am I reading that right? The restauradores.
I don't believe so. No, I don't believe so. I believe it's something else.
Okay, and
I
is
couldn't
no
tell
one
you.
is no one paying attention to today in Portuguese history? I think that Prof. Eusebio is feeling a little bit slighted. I think I've read them all out, Prof. Did you look away briefly, or is there some sort of technical error? But no way would I not pay attention to today in Portuguese history, or your slug statistics either. I don't. Were they censored yesterday? I wonder. Stick them back in the chat, and we'll play them today. And I was also mentioned before we start talking about footy in earnest. Portugal Living is a good and free digital magazine I'm enjoying. So not only that, but also something that came to my attention yesterday is the Tomorrow magazine. I don't know if you know about this. I don't suppose you keep too much of an eye on what's going on down there in the Algarve, Michael. But this is a lovely looking magazine that came to my attention yesterday. Vaughan Wilmore brought it to my attention. I interviewed him a long time ago, actually. And I'd love to talk to him again, actually, Vaughan, if you're watching this morning. But this is the lovely Tomorrow magazine in the Algarve. Loving the graphics. Look at the cover on that. Isn't that beautiful?
Oh, that's lovely. That's lovely.
I don't think it's new. I think they've at least 3 editions have come out, and they're not. It's not. Doesn't look like one of those. What are they called? Sort of advertorial things necessarily. There's some heavy.
It looks lovely.
Yeah, Santa there across the Algarvian subtropical sky with a few succulents on the cover. Very nice artwork. Backstage at COP26 in this edition. A legal alien, one man's story of living off the edge. Paralympian prodigy, interview with Tokyo Olympian, and inside Mar shopping, the facts and figures revealed. So I think it sounds like there's some nice journalism going on there as well.
Yeah.
So check that out if you're down south. Tomorrow, the community magazine for the Algarve. It's all about community. In the age that we're living in. Well done, Tomorrow magazine, and I'm hoping to speak to Sophie from the team there on the show soon, which will be good, and we'll bring you more information about that. Okay, so we've sorted the holiday out, haven't we? We've found out what the temperature's like in Lisbon. I think we've calmed Prof. Eusebio down a little bit, and every day is a holiday in Portugal after all. Well, yes, there is that, of course, and there's at least one in every month. But let's talk about footy now. Let's go right back to the reason why Michael is wearing his Benfica top today. We thought, didn't we, that culturally, as an expat, it is our duty to pick a team, Michael. What are the other benefits that there'll be doing this, do you think, socially?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you've got to remember that probably, it's the #1 sport in Portugal, and what else is there? I mean, it really is a topic that you can speak to anyone about in the country, and you will immediately connect with them. And everyone in Portugal has a team, even if they don't like football. Women and children as well.
Yes.
And you have to remember that this is something that dates back a long time. So when football first became popular in Portugal, we're talking about late 19th century, and it was actually Portuguese students returning from England.
Really?
Yeah. So while the professional league didn't start until the 30s, amateur associations, amateur clubs date right back to the 19th century. So that makes Portugal one of the oldest countries to have, football clubs in the world. And yeah, it's just one of those things where I think as an expat, it definitely helped me feel more part of the Lisbon community, because in Lisbon, you have Benfica and you have Sporting. They're the two main clubs. I don't know if you've got that league table there that I sent you. Maybe you can pop it up in a bit, and we can sort of run through it a bit. But it's definitely a way to ingratiate yourself with Portuguese and the locals, and you have a lot of different options to choose from. Especially if you're going to live in the north of the country, you have way more. You have way more options.
Do you want that there now? I mean, I'm really pleased about having that screen graphic, because I'm looking at us, and you look like a massive rugby player on the right of the screen, don't you? With your shirt. I look like this little Ronnie Corbett figure. So I'll just live with it. I'll let me ego deal with that. And yeah, so do you want to detail this now, or just shout me when you want it?
I mean, yeah, I can just go through it very quickly. I mean, obviously, I think this is the current league table at the moment, and it's kind of in a way, it's a slightly sad league table because it's very indicative of the history of Portuguese football. So you've got the three big clubs in the top three positions, Porto, Sporting and Benfica, and then Braga, who are typically the club that will finish outside of the top three. And then I can run down the list a little bit. But so if you're planning to live in Lisbon and you want to pick one of the two big clubs, and you've obviously got Sporting and you've got Benfica. But interestingly, if you're going to live in the Cascais area or on that part of the coast, you've got Estoril, Praia, who are in fifth at the moment. And they're historically a club that have wavered between the first division and the second division. So that could be an interesting one for you to pick. If you're in the Algarve, you've got Portimonense, which is in Portimao, who are sixth at the moment. They're a really good club. But alternatively, if you don't want to support a team that plays in the first division, then you've got Farense in Faro, who play in the second division. So unfortunately, in the Algarve, you don't have as many options for clubs as you would if you lived in other parts of the country. Now, if you decide to live in the north, you're spoiled for choice. And I'm not just talking about Porto or Boavista, who play in the they're in 11th in the table, but you've got clubs like Gil Vicente, who are in Barcelos, which is in the Braga district. You have Aruca, which is in Porto region. You have Pacos Ferreira, which is also in the Porto region. You have Famalicão, which is in Braga, Vizela, which is in Braga, Moreirense, which is in Guimarães. So there's at least 7 clubs there that will be within a very short geographical distance if you decide to live in the north. And then for those of you in Madeira, you have Marítimo. So even if you decide to live in Madeira, you will have the opportunity to watch the first division. And then even for those further out, our friends in the Azores, you have Santa Clara in the Azores, believe it or not. So every time a Portuguese team has to play Santa Clara, they have to fly to the Azores to play them. So what's wonderful about the league is that it really does represent geographically all the autonomous regions of the country. And the other benefit of supporting a team in Portugal is there is this massive away culture, which we have in England, but we don't have in other countries in Europe, like Spain. People don't tend to travel to support their team when they play away from home. But in Portugal, they do because of the size of the country. It's so accessible. It's so easy to get from one place to the other. So if you are thinking about a team, don't necessarily do what I did and pick one of the big three. Have a think about it and decide which team you want to support.
Very good. Okay, we'll come back to that and we'll help you choose. If you're a little bit stuck on that, just give us your town or city or your star sign or anything other distinguishing features about yourself, and we'll pick a team based on that. So this is it. This is why Prof. Eusebio is getting a bit eggy, because I have been so thick this morning. This before you came, the Restoration of Independence. Okay, that's the restauradores. It's nothing to do with restaurants.
No, I didn't think it was. I never thought it was.
You can forgive me for thinking there might be a public holiday that celebrated the people of the hospitality industry.
Yeah.
And if there isn't, please, that's another one of my recommendations.
There should be one. There should be one.
Absolutely be one. So, Prof, thank you. You're a bit too erudite for my low IQ this morning. That, of course, is what the holiday is about, the Restoration of Independence and the coup d'etat, led by these 40 conspirators. Wow, interesting times back in those days, with how things used to work, the toings and froings of political and royal life. Okay, and we found out that Tranmere Rovers fan, Deagle, became a Sporting fan after, they were asked by a policeman. Is that, do they sometimes, as well as checking for certificates and papers at the moment, do they stop and ask you what football team you support? Is that a thing?
It's never happened to me.
It could happen though in Portugal, couldn't it?
If I ever get stopped by the police and ask for papers, I don't know about you, mate, but I just want to get in and out of there as quickly as possible.
Definitely. Just one more thing. Which football team do you support? Oh, okay. So we've had Iris's news from the move is not great by the sound of it. Sorry to hear this. Move has been a bit of a disaster. We have no gas or hot water in this weather for some reason. So having a forced crash course on how to light and keep a fire going. Oh, well done. It's one of the it is an ancient art, isn't it? Lighting a fire if you've been used to central heating for the last few decades. Well done. You'll be glad of that. I think ultimately. Good morning, everybody. Today's very important one in our history. I'm so sorry I messed this up. Regardless of any efforts to take away the greatness of that revolution in 1640. Okay, well said there, Joao F. And I think I might have missed another one of your comments. Thick and fast this morning in the comments, which is great. Not complaining, but if I missed something, do reassert. Prof. Sabio not having a good morning. Look, my banana slug facts were censored yesterday. Not here. No censorship here, unless it's illegal or disrespectful. You know that. La Bon Dia, Faja, the Jazz Funk, the Dia, Brazilian Love Affair, great track. Yes, George Duke, isn't it? Listening to this track makes me appreciate what a great period of music I have been exposed to. Yes, the greatest music I think was made in 70s. Certainly in this genre, 70s going into the 80s for sure. You're a bit of a jazz funker on the QT, aren't you, Michael?
Yeah.
We have our old funkers playlist on Spotify. We need to get you connected with that because I'm sure you'll have a few good ones to add. Bon dia, leaving the sunny Algarve for Braga for 15 days, but I have to go and meet friends I left in the north. Friends in the north there. How are you doing that, Laura P? Are you going to go on the Alpha Pendula? Because that's a lovely journey to make, isn't it? And Elra quite right with her assessment of why that scheme just completely flopped of trying to move Portuguese people into the interior. Welcome to this is the one I was hoping to find. Welcome to Portugal, everybody. Even if you do not entirely believe in this country, I hope even the most critical will end up respecting and loving it. Well, I think that's true. And Laura P appreciating that sentiment. My housemate says he's a Sporting fan. That's not an adjective. That is the name of a club.
Sporting Lisbon, yeah.
Based, I think so. I'm supposing that I should claim that team, cheering on your local club and all that. Well done, James.
Or James, alternatively, you could choose Benfica just to annoy your housemate. That would be more fun, I think.
Bit of friction.
Yeah.
Yes, that's okay. That's the tip for you, James. Yes, step into that footballing and sportsmanlike conflict zone there. I find it hard not to fall in love with your country, says Laura Peter Joao F. You can see I don't know much about that yet. Okay, well, it's decided, isn't it? He's a Benfica man. We'll make that decision.
James is Benfica. Good man.
What is the provision for girls' football in Portugal?
Yeah, it's a good question. So Benfica, and this is the interesting thing about some clubs in Portugal. So Benfica, for example, is not technically a football club or just a football club. It's a sports club. So there are a number of sports that Benfica has a team in, including even roller hockey, swimming, a whole host of sports. And there is a very solid girls. So every club every sport that Benfica participates in has a girls team, all the different levels. So women's football in Portugal isn't as the infrastructure isn't there as solidly as, say, in England, where we have now women's football televised on the BBC every weekend. But I would say it's improving and the clubs are starting to invest more in it. And definitely when you talk about women participating in football as fans, I've definitely seen an improvement in that. So I first started to watch Benfica around 2014. And I would say in the last couple of years before the pandemic, I noticed a lot more women and young girls going to watch football. And the clubs have made a huge effort to try and bring more women into the game as fans. So, for example, if you wanted to get a season ticket as a woman, it's actually cheaper to encourage women to come to football, and it can be extremely cheap. You're talking about maybe less than 150 euros a season to watch every single home game. So it's definitely an intentional strategy that's been made in Portuguese football to try and make it more inclusive for both genders. So sorry, that's a bit of a long answer, but yeah, it's definitely improving.
Yeah, but that begs the question. What does the regular season ticket cost?
It's not expensive, mate. So I mean, when I started to go, I had one of the more expensive ones, and it was €300 a season, which if you compare to, say, Premier League clubs, you're talking about Arsenal's about £2,000.
Is it really?
And there are some season tickets at Benfica which are less than €150.
Okay.
So it's extremely accessible, because you go to the ground, and the typical thing is you'll have a bifana, and you'll have a beer before the game, and it's
Now
really
you're
cheap,
talking. Now you're
really
talking.
cheap to get it on the street. Yeah. So for everyone that wants to support a team, they can. And what I will say about Benfica is, historically, it tends to be the working man's club. So you get more cross-section of society watching Benfica, which I love. Because, in England, football tends to be seen as like a working class sport, whereas sports like rugby and cricket tend to be seen as the opposite of that. In Portugal, everyone across all cross sections likes football and will go to the football, and Benfica is a really good example of that. You will see every walk of life at the game, so it's great.
Okay, which of course then might have us think about what the atmosphere is like, what football, the hooliganism aspect, because that's put a lot of people off football in the UK, isn't it? Is the whole atmosphere around it. Now, that's not to say people aren't hugely passionate, and occasionally there's a punch-up, because that's what happens at football matches. But I think it's safe to say, isn't it, that people behave in a very different way around football.
Yeah, it's very rare, mate. I mean, there are a few clubs that have worse reputations than others, and certain clubs have had punch-ups, and there's been violence, but it's extremely rare. And normally it's just among the ultras, or the clac, as the Benfica ultras, they call them the clac, and there's two of them, and they sit opposite sides of the stadium. But not normally. I mean, I've been to so many Benfica matches, and I've never seen any problems at all. And the away fans are kept, sort of guarded by the police at least 2 hours before the game, and they're sort of stuck right at the top of the Stadio da Luz, and they have to wait until the end. Yeah, so it's very rare you have any problems. There have been issues. Famously, Guimarães are quite notorious for being a little bit tasty, but but they're just very passionate fans. But in general, no, it's very rare to see problems or any violence or anything like that.
Well, the most respectful football hooligans, if that can fit together in one sentence, tend to fight at prearranged places, don't they? Away from. I imagine that's another symptom of Portuguese respectability, is that they will organise that away from the match and the families.
Absolutely. Yeah. They won't go after the typical fan. It'll just be, if you're a fellow hooligan, then let's have a punch up, and then that's it.
Amazing, isn't it? Only one small club here in Ericeira, but still, maybe worth. It's always good to go to pick your local club, isn't it? So you can go, even if it's a small club, because the passion will still be there, as well as the beers. So why not? You've caused doubt there. It was going to be Sporting, then Benfica, now Ericeira.
No, James, I would encourage you to take a look at that local team, mate, for sure. Because I think you just get a different experience. If you want to be close to your local community, that is the best way to do it, for sure.
Isn't it just? Yeah, and you'll get invited to other things, I'm sure, and people will look fondly upon you as somebody who's taking an interest in that way. Even if you disclose that you know nothing about it, I think people will take great delight in introducing you into the
fact that you haven't chosen one of the big clubs and you've gone for the small club. Immediately, people will respect that and love you for that, for sure.
Okay, there's a football pitch and a football school and pitch behind our apartment. We can watch the games out the window. Very cool. That's great, isn't it? Nice. Being able to do that. So enjoying the soccer. Unfortunately, can't stay long today, says Joao F. So I wish you all a very happy holiday. Boa férias to you as well. Joao F. Thank you for being here for the short time you were. It has to be Benfica for me. Manchester City's goalkeeper Edison, defender Diaz, and inform Bernardo Silva. Would you like to comment on that, Michael?
Nice. Yeah, no. Well, all I would say to that is, if presumably Owen's a Man City fan, but might have problem wearing the red of Benfica. That's the only thing. It
Ouch.
might sit well with him. But yeah, for sure. I mean, I remember Edison when he was at Benfica, one of the best goalkeepers I've ever seen, and Man City brought him. Bernardo Silva, I don't know if he ever played for the first team at Benfica. I think he was in the youth system, and then he went to Monaco, did really well there, and I think then he was signed by Man City. But yeah, for sure, there's a really strong connection there. And yeah, that's another good way of doing it. Actually, if you have popular, players that have played for clubs, and because this is the sad thing about Portuguese football. You have to, sorry, excuse me. You have to remember that the money that the players can earn is nothing compared to what they can earn in the big league. So typically, players will do very well, and then they'll get they'll get grabbed by the bigger clubs. So normally, if a player is going to be a top player, well, Cristiano Ronaldo is a great example of that. He was taken from Sporting by Manchester United when he was 17. So this happens a lot. But then what's exciting is a lot of young players have found their mark in the Portuguese league, and then they go on to bigger things. So I've seen some amazing players come through at Benfica and then move on to bigger clubs, and you can just see how good they are. And for a lot of South American players, it's a good stepping stone to then go and play in the bigger leagues in Europe.
I can't imagine English fans being as loyal to one of their players who played abroad for most of their career. Can you?
Yeah, I don't know. I think so. I mean, we've had it more recently, haven't we? So we had David Beckham at Real Madrid, and we've had a few, but it's not as common. It's not as common. But I think fans are supportive of it if it does happen. But yeah, it's the problem with the money. Right? The money you can make in the Premier League is way more than any other league in the world. So they all want to play there.
Which I understand is the subject of possible investigation and a new regulatory body called IREF. I was hearing about this last night. I don't suppose much will happen there. Humberto Gonçalves, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
He says, well, that's exactly what I needed. Who do you support, Humberto? I was raised in a small town up north and can confirm that the quality of life is much, much higher. But in the end, it comes down to personal choice. Thank you, Humberto, for that. Gemini's here as well. And bon dia from Jay to Humberto there. This new state is more of a precaution measure because of what happened last year. Better be safe than sorry. No, it's the re-implementation of the Republic. Yeah, going way back to my idiocy earlier on. Thank you, Humberto, for sorting it out. And yes, have you forgiven me yet, Prof. Eusebio? I'd like to clarify on the rules, or I'd like clarification on the rules for restaurants. In the last state of calamity, a test was only required for dining indoors on weekends. Cafes were exempt. Do we know anything about this, Michael? What I know is that, what I've heard is that you're meant to show up a COVID, digital passport.
Yeah, I think from the 1st of December for enclosed spaces like restaurants, bars, you have to show a COVID vaccine certificate, like a QR code.
I think for Thunder there though, is it full on restaurants? Is it cafes as well? Is it esplanadas? I think I'll look into that actually. Let me give like 10 or 15 minutes at the end of the show after we've helped everyone decide on their football team, if we can perceive that through the news reporting. All right, so we'll come back to that, Thunder. All the best, Jay. You'll love San Martino de Porto and Caldas. I think you will. Yes, of course, Thunder. You know both of those. Mrs. Capricorn and I have started looking at Central Portugal now. There are so many YouTube channels of expats that are loving living away from the coast. My week is full of watching these YouTube videos. So we've managed to turn possibly one couple there onto the idea of Central Portugal. Value as well, of course. Don't forget that. Haven't been to Coimbra yet, says Thunder Duck. Well, maybe you could do that as an away football fixture. Any other Belenenses? Sad supporters, great match, and after game drinks with the team.
Nice.
So what happened there?
That's another fascinating one, isn't it? Because Belenenses are one of the oldest clubs in Portugal, and they're one of only 5 to have won the league. But they had a huge dispute, and the club split. So Belenenses SAD is like the supposedly the official Belenenses, but they haven't retained the logo or the colours. I think they've retained the stadium. I could be wrong. Someone can correct me there. But it's a bit like what happened with Wimbledon. Do you remember what happened with Wimbledon, where they became Milton Keynes, and then Wimbledon AFC was like a loyal group of supporters who kept it. So that's what's happened with Belenenses. So Belenenses, the official Belenenses, have gone down to, I think, the 3rd division, and Belenenses SAD have stayed, but haven't retained their colours. So there's been a bit of a dispute there, which is quite fascinating. That happened a couple of years ago. But if anyone knows more on that subject than me, feel free to correct me or put it in the comments. Yeah, and then basically they lost to Benfica, I think 7-0, because they could only field like 9 players. 2 goalkeepers had to be in the squad as players because they had so many people ill because of COVID. And they should have rescheduled the game. And in fact, the Portuguese, the Benfica president actually said, we wanted to reschedule the game. We didn't want to go ahead with it. So there you go. Just one of those things.
Yeah, done that for you, Deagle, as well. And just to clarify, 1st of December, of course, this public holiday is a celebration of the remembrance of 1640, where Portugal independence was regained from Spain. Okay, I think we've got that now. Feeling like I've done 10 rounds with Mike Tyson after my Moderna booster jab on Sunday, or take it easy, Garvo. Keep warm. Yeah, and I don't know what your regime is for that. Probably involves aguardent, I suspect. I think Seth requires a football allegiance.
It should do.
Yes. And I suppose this happens in all workplaces as well, of course, including Seth, that there will be the great rivalry among colleagues too. I'm sure that's a big thing in Portugal. Careful, it's not Belenenses, it's BSAD. And that's the big story there that Michael has just detailed for you. I like the league table at the moment. You would do, wouldn't you? Because his team is top there. Porto at the top, just putting in that back on the screen for you. And I think that's a family connection you've chosen on, Francis, right? And your roots there in Porto. My other housemate, the missus of my other housemate, openly declares that she hates football and will never watch it. And she's Portuguese. Those absolutes, everyone will always sneak up and bite you in the bottom. Now, this is what Elra's saying as well. Just a small correction, Michael. Not every Portuguese has a club, and my hope that there are others out there like me keeps me going. They are the exceptions that prove the rule, though.
Yeah,
really,
you know what? They're a small minority, because I found even if people don't like it or don't watch it, they'll still have a father, a brother, a sister who's obsessed, and they'll be like the official club of the family, or maybe there'll be 2. So there'll be one connection away from someone that's obsessed. So yeah, there's no hiding it. You're in a massive minority.
He's not correcting that. So as well as the Bifana and the beer, which beer? So doesn't football allegiance also come with a beer preference? Is that true and right, or is it just a sponsorship thing?
I mean, yeah, it's a sponsorship thing. I mean, Benfica is sponsored by Sagres. But I mean, I don't think football fans care about that too much, really. I think, if it's cold and wet, they'll drink it. I don't think they care about the brand.
Wash down the Bifana with. Okay. Andy picked Sporting, local team there. Yeah. Braga District has 6 clubs in the league.
Yeah.
Porto telling us there. That's great, isn't it? I've only been to one match, and it was Porto versus Gil Vicente away.
Nice. Good man.
I look forward to my first match at the Dragão. Yeah. The name of the so, what are the stadiums like here in Portugal, Michael? As well, is it? I remember I think probably the last football match I went to was at Exeter City in the away.
I mean, that's an experience in itself. It's like in the middle of a housing estate. I've been St James's Park. I've been there before.
Right. Come on, a city. I was with I think Orient fans in the away end. And I think I've said this to you before, but I think they, when the Berlin Wall was taken down, they exported it from Germany to Exeter for the away fans to be housed on or in.
Amazing.
It was horrible. Can we expect a better level of hospitality in a Portuguese stadium?
Yeah, I mean, you have to remember that Portugal hosted the Euros in 2004.
Of course.
And there was a huge investment in football stadiums, to the point where there are many that aren't even being used. Or used as they should be, which is a bit of a shame. But yeah, in general, the quality is high. Obviously, especially with the bigger clubs. I mean, Benfica Stadium is was from 2004. Before that, it's a bit of a shame. Before that, the oldest Stadio Luz the capacity was 120,000. Wow. Imagine that. 120,000. It was the biggest in Europe. Now it's 65,000, so it's half that nearly. But the
Why would they
quality.
do that? Is it safety, public safety?
It was an old unsafe stadium, standing.
Oh, you're breaking up a bit there. Oh, are you plotting to bring my show down again, or is that just your?
No, that wasn't me. I went then as well. We both disappeared.
Okay. Do you remember what happened last time with that? You just took over, didn't you?
Yeah, I remember.
I haven't forgotten.
I know you
the
haven't.
encouragement. I'm watching up. Okay. The best supporters are from Vitoria, from Guimarães.
They're the ones that have the reputation for the hooliganism. But yeah, they are absolutely mental. I remember I went to see the Supertaça. I went to see the Supertaça, which is the equivalent of the Community Shield in Portugal, and it was Benfica against Guimarães, and that was in Aveiro, in the Aveiro Stadium, which is beautiful, but again, not used by the local team because the local team plays in the 3rd division and they couldn't afford the electricity. But yeah, that game, there were 20,000 fans from Guimarães. And there were that is actually the only time I've seen violence. There were fans properly having a punch up between those two. So yeah, Guimarães, they're incredible fans, but there's a minority that have a bad reputation for being proper old school hooligans.
Not heard of this Portuguese football team, McLaren, but Andy giving a clue to his other sporting interest there. Supporting BSAD is just so infectious. So Pete's chosen there at Solar Life Portugal. When's your next video coming out, Pete? Or anything with wheels for Andy. And good morning, everyone, from Susan. How are you this morning?
Good morning.
I think I've upset Mr. Ferreira. Oh, it's a slightly tense atmosphere in the community this morning. I'm sure you haven't. I have supported FC Porto since my childhood, says Francis. My mum is from there. I've had moments of supporting teams in other leagues, but now I choose to be neutral in those. And Porto all the way. Forza, Porto. Well, it's quite specific in its origin. I wonder what that is. Is that recent infection that's getting cleared up with a cream? There is a National League for Women also, says Umberto. Thank you, Umberto, for all your contributions today.
Awesome, Umberto. Thank you.
There are women's TV games. And that's the thing, isn't it? This is something we haven't talked about yet, is how important it is a part of cafe culture here in Portugal. So if there isn't a match on of note and of importance, they'll put something else on instead, won't they? And they'll be watching an old game between, Liverpool and Man City from 1984 or something on the telly in the cafe. Yeah. It's quite incredible. So always on and usually showing a match of some sort. Michael, get your wife a season ticket for Christmas. Would that work? Yeah.
She don't mind it. She has come to the football with me, but I don't think she's that keen to come to every game. I've taken my son to a few. He loves it.
Perfect gift for the missus there, given the excellent value Michael was talking about before. If Vitoria Guimarães, I pay €40 a year for a season ticket. Look at that value.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible. This is it. This is the thing. People don't realize how cheap it is compared to what they might be used to. Especially anyone from the US or England. I mean, you couldn't get a ticket. You couldn't get the cheapest ticket at Chelsea for 40 quid. Impossible. So that's a whole season.
It is, and the €13 a month presumably is to be a member of the club.
That's the membership fee. Yeah, that's the membership fee. That you have to be a member to then have the season ticket. But yeah, it works out very cheap.
Talking of members then and community, and it's obviously part of life, for the whole family, as you said, there might be a family team. Is it unlikely that the same corporate ravages will take place in Portugal, or is there an inevitability about that? Or will the fans just stop that sort of thing happening? The Super League thing that nearly happened.
Okay, well, I don't think any of the Portuguese clubs were invited to the Super League.
But more generally, are corporate interests and is big money going to affect the game in a way?
Yeah, I mean, it already has. It already has. Yeah. I mean, you look at the dominance of the big three in Portugal, and that's no coincidence that they've dominated Portugal. So since the Portuguese league started, I think Umberto can correct me, I think it was 1932 or 33 around then. There's only been 5 winners in nearly 100 years. Okay. And Boavista and Belenenses, who are the only other two to have won outside of the big three, they've only won it once each. So there is a reason that Sporting, Benfica, and Porto have dominated. They've got the most money, the most fans, and it's very difficult for other clubs to break through. So that is the only downside. There isn't the same competitiveness in the Portuguese league that you'll see in other leagues, which maybe makes it more worth it to pick a smaller club that don't play in the first division, because then you'll see a different type of football. Yeah,
sounds a bit more like the Scottish league than the English there, I think, possibly, but with better goalkeeping. The best atmosphere is in Vitória Guimarães. It's special. Any Benfica Porto fan can confirm it. They've got to take their hat off to the Guimarães fans and the atmosphere there. For context, when they were relegated a few years ago, when they were relegated a few years ago, they had the biggest attendances. So they rallied round. Biggest attendances in the country, and they got behind the team. Fantastic.
They did, but they got relegated. I'm just kidding, mate.
I can do it, says James. I will check out the local team. So he's going to go for Ericeira. I will never wear red.
Yeah, I knew it. I knew it'd be a problem for you, mate. Impossible. It would be impossible for you to wear red. So, if you're going to pick a team in blue, then maybe do Sad now play in blue? I'm not sure, but Porto would be the obvious one for you if you want to wear blue.
Okay. And the great sporting legend, Cristiano, of course, as you say, hasn't played in the country since he was a teenager. Obviously, apart from being in the national squad. Yeah,
so he was playing for Madeira, and then at the age of, I think, 12, he moved to Lisbon to play for Sporting, and then got picked up by United when he was 17. Yeah. So he wasn't even an adult when he moved to England.
So let's dwell on him for a moment. He didn't get the golden boot, did he? And I think
no.
your man was quite surprised to get it as well. He suggested somebody else should have got it, right?
I mean, I think it was a strange one. It was a strange one that Messi won it, because I think you had other Lewandowski probably should have got it. I don't know. It's a bit, the Ballon d'Or is a political trophy, which is the official best player in the world, but it's an independent award which is given effectively. It's a French award, and there's a lot of things I shouldn't talk about as I'm starting to speak about that, which I shouldn't. So yeah, it was controversial. It was controversial because Messi hasn't really had the best. He won the Copa America with Argentina. I think that's possibly why.
Okay,
they gave it to him. Yeah.
Right, and before we move away from Cristiano, which is how he's referred to here, right? Or CR said, a 7, or Cristiano, just as a, you're special, don't you, when you just have a one-word name like that and the nation loves you. This thing about the World Cup, Michael, should we be worried? Is this real going to be real nail-biting stuff, or do you think it's a bit of a formality now, just a little bit of a way for them to just pull up their socks a little bit and not be complacent?
I don't understand the question, mate. So what are you getting?
The World Cup playoffs that are coming. Portugal.
Oh, okay, I see what you mean. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's fascinating, isn't it? Let's see what happens.
Are you worried? Are you worried about that?
Am I worried about the playoffs? How do you mean? I'm not worried because England are already in the World Cup, so I couldn't care less.
Do you think Portugal are going to get through? I mean, there's a real possibility that they have been.
I don't know. I think who have they got? If they get through their semi-final, they've got, who is it? Italy. They could have to play, or someone really big. I don't know if it's Italy, but it's someone potentially really, really difficult.
You seem
let's have a quick look. Let's have a look.
You seem quite unbothered by this, and I'm more. Okay, right, because England are through.
Right. Because England are through, yeah. I mean, I love Portugal, but I don't support the national team. Let me have a look.
He's made that very clear here. Yeah. Okay, while you're doing that, France, there's a lot of Portuguese, Brazilian, and Chilean stars who start in Portugal, tempted away from the league, but they usually come back. Abel says, Sporting all the way, the biggest academy of sport in Portugal. Worth remembering that in 1640, Portugal effectively swapped monarchs, which sounds painful.
It's Italy. It is Italy they could play. It is Italy. So, that's a really difficult one, potentially, for them. Yeah.
And you're quite unconcerned because if it's England all the way for you and you're not even giving Portugal a look in, it's good to have them out of the competition.
I mean, I'd rather Portugal over Italy get to the World Cup 100%. And if England get knocked out and then Argentina get knocked out, Portugal will be my third team for sure. But yeah,
and it would be the crowning glory, of course, of Cristiano's footballing career to win the World Cup. because that's not
I
happened.
mean, they won the Euros in 2016. That was incredible. That was unbelievable. I mean, you have to remember Portugal has a population of under 11 million people. So for them to win an international tournament of that prestige was unbelievable that they did that. So
okay. All right, going back to the testing and the restrictions, cafes and pastelerias only need a test if you have a seated meal. So you can stand up outside or go grab your coffee, I think, by the sound of it. Thanks, Umberto, for that clarification. Abel, I think there's some, what's that going on? There's some sporting love going on there, isn't there? From Myrtle Beach across the pond. Hola, Carla, Michael, great red. Thank you both for this last Ask Anything About Portugal with Michael Heron of this year for your kindness, time, and dedication. Well, that hadn't occurred to me.
Is it the last one? Oh, yeah, of course it is.
Our last one of the year, isn't it? So thank you for your kindness, time, and dedication. Without a vision, the people perish. Bless you, Portugal.
Oh, that's very sweet. Thank you for that.
Really lovely. Thank you. Jacqueline
That's
Branco
lovely.
also. Yeah, thanks for that, Raquel. Really appreciate that. I hadn't thought that.
Really nice.
And Jacqueline's here. I haven't got around to going to a match yet. Our local team is Ginásio de Alcobaça. I've been to the stadium, though, as the running track is open and free for the public to use. Isn't that great? Love of sport in Portugal. So I'll come along to that, Pam, if you're looking for pals to go along to the match with. Bon dia, Carla Michael from a chilly Coleraine, the centre of the Milk Cup. There, thank you very much. And Lonnie McLaughlin, a late bon dia gentleman heading to Lisbon to replace my lost passport. Good luck with that, Lonnie. See you tomorrow on the webinar. Carl, you said it best. Some Portuguese families have more than 4 or 5 houses for different reasons. I just can't get enough of Portugal. Great culture, people, and environment to raise a family. Yes, be Portuguese about it in that respect and get yourself 4 or 5 properties in the family. Yeah. I think because that was a theory of mine, Michael. Just moving away slightly from football for a moment.
Yes,
but the expats are thinking, where do I live? Do I live in the Algarve? Do I live in Lisbon? Do I live in Porto? Maybe Central. And I said, well, why don't you just get 3 houses like Portuguese people do, or have them in the extended family? Is that a right theory? Do you think from your Portuguese colleagues? Is that how it works? That you have houses?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially so I've got friends who are, say, from the north, and they'll live in Lisbon, so they'll have their home in Lisbon, and then they'll have their family home in the north, and then typically they'll have a home or an apartment in the Algarve, which they can use in the summer. And sometimes it's like it's a family thing where they've all pulled together. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
So maybe we need expat syndicates to have that happen as well. Antonio F. for bon dia from you. Who do you support, Antonio? And does Antonio go to the match dressed like that? Because that would be awesome.
I would love to see that.
There Steady would overflow about 1,000 fans, I guess, says James. Amazing. All the more reason to go there and add to the atmosphere. I watched the Sélection all around Europe, including in Paris in the 2016 Euro final. Wow. Yeah, that's something to remember, isn't it? Bon dia from Mary. Hey, Winnie too. Maybe see you later on. Jack, Polly, Chris here. I have seen Exeter City and Torquay United both beat West Ham at St James's Park and play more in the FA Cup. Different years, obviously, but what a great day to go. Yes, William, the Milk Cup in Coleraine is a smashing youth tournament with big UK and even European teams wanting to be invited. It's usually the last week in July, so there you go. Info about the Milk Cup. Learning loads today. John May, support your local teams. The smaller clubs need your support more than the Giants. It's a good 100%. Point. Good point, John. Who do you support then, by the way, whilst you're here? There was some corruption last year at Benfica, if I'm not mistaken, so it does happen, but it gets the attention of the news very quickly. But Rui Costa is now president. Yeah, that was a big news, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah, he was a naughty boy. He was a naughty boy.
Allegedly. Benfica's success also related with the regime, but that is a long conversation, okay? But the bottom line, support your local team. That's the way to go. Excellent advice. Thank you, Umberto. Hola, bon dia, kids. Hi, Carla Michael. On my way to Castelo Branco. Have a lovely time in Castelo Branco. What team do you support over Castelo Branco way, I wonder? A cafe I visit has the old bar football game. A lot of that in Portugal. Old men swap bars depending on team. Sporting Braga, Porto, Benfica, they chalk up results. Very competitive. That's fantastic. Yes, often the old bar football table in a Portuguese cafe. Yes, potentially Italy in second playoff. I'm worried about that, clearly more than Michael is. I support the Portugal national team. I could never get on with supporting England. When you don't win for several centuries, it does become difficult. Let's hope CR7 listens to his mummy and ditches Man U this Jan and goes Is that the backstory there? Forza Sporting. So this is what you say, isn't it, Michael? When you are supporting a team, instead of like "come on, you whatever," it's Forza at the beginning there, isn't it? Forza.
That's right.
So that's from Juicebox. Leo, thank you for that, Juicebox. Not yet a true football fan. I will be behind the Portuguese national team all the way. Yeah, me too. Mrs. G wants more places. Oh, to support, I suspect there. Great show, Carl and Michael. My new team has to be there we go. In Castelo Branco, you can support Fundao. Then sad, and most of all, Spurs. Come on, you Spurs. Missed the new stadium, though, but not the prices, indeed. Have a great journey, Victoria Benson. See you soon on the way to Castelo Branco. Corruption is normal, especially for Benfica.
I mean, Sporting as well. They don't get a free pass for that.
I think these two comments go together, though, don't they? First of all, it's Forza Sporting, and then it's flipping Benfica. Okay, Francis, there is corruption all the time in football. It gets to the media sometimes, says Elrod. Not a fan. Jeff Jackson, bon dia, Carly Michael. Late to the party this morning. Have you chosen, Jeff? Benfica fan here, says Antonio. Okay, but you've got the right colour cape on, but will they allow the spear and the shield in the ground, I wonder? Sporting Benfica y Castelo Branco is the Castelo Branco team. So Castelo Branco, unsurprisingly, eponymous a choice there. I must admit, I only restarted following the news on RTP in the last year or so. Okay, so I guess it's always there, the intrigue and the corruption, all that sort of stuff behind the big game here in Portugal. Forza Porto from Ana Pinto. Hey, Anna. Good of you to drop in. And Porto from NBA. Oh, FC Porto. Meu club, meu vicio. What does a vicio mean?
Vicio is like vice. It's like your vice.
Oh, I see. Okay. Gosto muito do club que tem que lutar contra tudo e contra todos. Okay. Thank you very much, NBA, for that. A lot of support suddenly coming in. Look at this. Sporting. Sporting has been too broke recently to be corrupt. Some good footy talk. Yes, Deagle, great to see all the young, talented international footballers showing their incredible football skills. That'll be at the Milk Cup. Brilliant. Okay. Thank you, Michael, so much. Anything we missed? Anything that we should tell people about footballing culture here in Portugal? Apart from maybe choose your local team, go along, get to know people, have the burger and the beer before the match.
I think so, and I think and go out there and watch your team, because in England it's not accessible for the everyday fan, so it's too expensive. But we're so blessed in Portugal that it's affordable. Just as Humberto was saying, he pays €40 a season to see Guimarães, and then €13 a month. Yeah, anyone can afford that, and that's I think the most beautiful thing about this sport in this country. So definitely, not only pick a team, but go and watch the game, because this is the feedback I get from even people that don't like football that I've taken to football matches. They love it. They love it because of the noise, the smell, the atmosphere, and all these things. You can't replicate that watching it on the box. So my advice is just try it. If you don't like it, fair enough. But I guarantee it'll be a hidden addiction to many people they won't realise that they have, for sure.
And a great Portuguese experience to tick off, right? As something to do. Absolutely. At least once. Okay, so Porto, where's this? Porto Monense for us. Hope to watch a few games when we move to Portugal. Well done, Jack. You've chosen Portimao then. That's interesting. Caldas is my local team. Well, Juicebox, drop me a line. I'll come along with you. That's going to be my local team. So I'd love to join you if you're open to that. Get your team tattooed all over your body. I've seen this. Okay, why not? I'm looking forward to that high up there on the list. And it's right what you say there, Francis. Go watch and take the kids. It's safe to do so, if in case you've got any worries about that. Are we geographically close? If you're in the forum, what's your handle? Okay, so James and Andy chatting there. For football in Portugal, always check this is good as well. Canal 11 on their TV channel. Very good. It's from the Federation. Games from all the country and divisions, and support your local team. Thanks for that tip, Humberto. And finally from Pete, I've paid more than €40 for a kid's ticket for Spurs. Yeah. Cheap as chips. Okay. What does that mean? So what pay when Spurs play here? You paid €40 to go see a match.
No, he just because Humberto said he paid €40 for a season ticket.
Oh, I see. Okay, it's just
he's paid the same just for a child's ticket at Tottenham, just as a comparison for one game.
Yeah.
So that's the comparison he's making. Yeah.
Okay, and I never thought I would see the word hegemony among football banter, but here you go. FC Porto is the northern club that has to fight against the hegemony of the clubs in Lisbon. Porto represents a region that has always been undervalued by the people of Lisbon. So
Well,
weaving in a little bit of
we're getting political. We're getting political.
yeah, I don't mind that. I don't mind finding about the socio-economic, political, etc. Here on the Good Morning Portugal show. Kids may learn how to say all the wrong words and gestures. Yes, but be Portuguese about it. It's all about context, isn't it? It's allowable there. And ate os leos. Okay, there, Deagle. That's right. That's the sporting line, of course. And Canal 11 is great. They give exposure to a lot of small clubs, which you probably wouldn't see in a lot of other countries.
Check out Channel 11.
Michael, here, ask anything about Portugal, but only about football, really, today. It's been great. And as Raquel pointed out, our last one of the year. Thank you so much, mate. We need to get you a Good Morning Portugal mug for Christmas, don't we?
Oh, I'd love that. It's been a pleasure. And have a fantastic Christmas, everyone. And stay safe. And yeah, look forward to seeing you all again in 2022. It sounds like something out of a science fiction film, doesn't it? It's insane.
Does it just 2022? Okay, well, thank you so much. Muito obrigado from me and all the community from Expats Portugal. Thanks for your sterling information.
Força Benfica, more importantly. Força Benfica.
Força Caldas. I'll see you soon. Love to the family. Light up Christmas, remember. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
There he goes, Michael Heronius Maximus. Fantastic. Helping you choose the team. So Caldash for me. And I did say, didn't I, in the last few minutes, we'll see what we can find out for Thunder with the restrictions, whether it applies or how it applies to cafes. I think Umberto was helpful earlier on with that. Boas festas already. It's right and proper to start wishing each other a Merry Christmas at somewhat challenging times. Let's do that. Porto is like Barcelona. Benfica is Real Madrid. Sporting is Atletico Madrid, says NBA. Who knows a lot about this sort of stuff? Feliz Natal. Michael, join the cave. Thanks, Michael. Have a great festive season. Nice one, everybody. Thanking Michael there. So let's see. I didn't profile the Portugal news this morning, did I? So let me see. If I take a look at the Portugal news, we might be able to find out a bit more about how the restrictions are actually going to work, because they start today, the 1st of December. State of calamity is here, and I believe for 4 months. Looking at the digital front page then of the Portugal news, 1.7 million for Madeira festive celebrations. Well, they're lighting up Christmas. Check that out. That's pretty amazing, isn't it? That's a lovely picture. So it's going to be a great Christmas in Madeira by the look of it. Hopefully nothing too challenging for people moving to and from Madeira. You've got pioneering heart surgery in Portugal, as people are now, I guess, looking at other illnesses and people going back into hospitals and having those other types of consultations. Quarantine and testing for travellers from Portugal to Switzerland coming in. New border rules criticised. So where we told you about those earlier on from the Portugal resident, they have been criticised. And you can understand that, can't you, from people toing and froing across the border every day as they do. That's going to be a right pain in the bottom. So let me see. The Portugal update, 30th of November. This may give us some clues, Thunder. I won't. You can get all those, all the grisly details yourself elsewhere. But I want to find out if this article does help us with the state of calamity restrictions, which it doesn't. It's just an update on the deaths and infections, unfortunately, there. So I'm going to go back to the resident to see if they have anything about the restrictions. I think maybe in their state of calamity lasting for 4 months article, they might have something for us in that department. So let me bring that onto the screen for you. And we'll be away from here in a few minutes. Just bear with for a moment while we take a look at this, if you will. And if I can find it, that is. 4 months, that's what I'm looking for. Oh, back to calamity. Portugal embraces for new measures. That might be the best we can bring you this morning. But I did see something about it lasting for 4 months, which I can't see now. Maybe that's changed as we've been on air. So let me see what it says. Back in on the 25th. Back to calamity. Portugal braces for new measures. This is 5 or 6 days ago. But let's see. As we knew about it then. And the Prime Minister saying we're better off than the majority of European countries, but we aren't as good as we had hoped. He said the new measures are essentially general. People should self-test before family gatherings, particularly over the festive period. People should work from home as much as possible to avoid excess contacts. And the state of calamity returns today. General recommendations then and new measures. We'll finish with these today. Regular testing, teleworking. Okay, the general recommendations coming into effect today. New measures. Mask wearing is mandatory in closed spaces and all areas that have not been declared an exception by the DGS, the health board. The digital certificate, the vaccine and or a negative test becomes mandatory to enter restaurants, tourist establishments and local lodgings, events with assigned seating and gyms. I can't tell you about the distinction on cafes there. It says restaurants, Thunder. Negative tests are mandatory even for vaccinated people to visit residents at old people's homes and patients at health establishments, or to enter large events with no assigned seating or at improvised venues and sporting venues, as well as bars and discos. Negative tests are mandatory for all flights arriving in Portugal. Much larger sanctions are implemented for airlines, and a week, as Michael said earlier on, a week of contact containment called between January 2nd and 9th, making teleworking mandatory, delaying the start of the second term of school from January the 3rd to the 10th, and the closing of bars and discos in that first week or first 10 days of January. I can't help you, Thunder. If anyone knows, take that to the forum, if you will. And we need to find out, don't we, if you need to be showing papers, etc., as you enter in and out of a cafe or an esplanade situation. We do need to know about that. Okay. Hello, I'm back, says Joao. Just reading the comments to get updated. Nice one. Madeira always has a massive fireworks spectacle on New Year's Eve. That's something to put on the to-do list, isn't it? The Portuguese to-do list. And Porky Feet, that's Andy, who supports Porto because of the missus and her family. Went to an Aveiro match, only a handful of supporters, most left at half-time. Boo, that's miserable, isn't it? Come on, Aveiro. Not much Forza Aveiro there. So have I got any more pics for you to show this morning? We've got wet slabs in Belfast. I'll tell you what, this are light. Where are these? Where are the pictures? We've got one from our man in the north, Vitor, lighting up Christmas in Braga yesterday. Sorry about the McDonald's branding at the top of that. It's like, yay, lights up Christmas. Oh, I feel suddenly hungry for some fast food. What's going on there? Oh, yes, a bit of subliminal advertising in there. But there, thank you for that, Vitor, very much with our lighting up Christmas efforts. And we got a very quick weather report from Belfast. And a final lighting up Christmas from Deagle. Deagle, thanks for this. The Wet Slabs of Belfast, which sounds like an album, doesn't it? It could be a folk musician's album, The Wet Slabs of Belfast. But we're not having any of that. We're going indoors and we're lighting up Christmas with an open fire. You and Iris should talk. She needs to know how to do that competently. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow morning. And of course, tomorrow evening, the webinar just landed, folks, hosted by the Ask Our Expats. So looking forward to that. Always great to hear about people's experiences when they first arrive in Portugal. Hi, I like your comments. They're always clever. From Joao F to Ella Linda. I wonder if you, James, Holly, and I could ever get together sometimes in our lives. It's going to take a logistical effort to do that, I think, across borders and countries. I don't think you need a certificate in a cafe. It's an essential service. Well said, Pam. Hi, awake now, says Suze. Pulled an all-nighter with a deadline looming. See you tomorrow. See you then, Suze. Well done. It's Christmas, Max. Yes, it was, wasn't it? The Wet Slabs sounds like a band name. Yeah, I was thinking an album. The Wet Slabs of Belfast. Yes, the Wet Slabs. They could be a tribute album, couldn't they? A tribute band of some sort. Okay, see you tomorrow, folks. Have a great day. Ciao, ciao. Bye for now. Where's that video that we like to play when we finish the show? Don't forget your 15 minutes. All right, ciao, bye.